Okay, warnings of communications. There's two more topics I want to cover here. How to respond to attack warning during worsening crisis and remaining inside shelter. So, how to respond to attack warning during worsening crisis. Basically, a worsening crisis is it's defined as a pretty much an attack that's likely to happen. And well, I'll just give you the wording here. During worsening crisis, attack warnings would be much more effective. An example would be the Doomsday clock. So, like right now, the Dooms clock is 2 minutes before midnight. It's closest it's been since the 1950s. So, say, for instance, they move it closer, say to 1 minute before midnight. Now there's more monitoring going on, and obviously the threat level is increased. So probably you're going to be spending more time coming up with a plan and preparing yourself. Now, worst case scenario, if it goes from 1 minute to midnight, they're probably going to recommend that you constantly monitor the radio stations and TV and whatnot. So I put down that if we were going from 1 minute before midnight to 0 minutes before midnight, it might be a good idea to monitor the AM FM radio so that you're in the loop, you know what's going on minute by minute. Alright, so that's what they mean by worsening crisis. So that concludes that one. Now, remaining inside a shelter. So, if there's a ICBM attack, right, a missile attack, and it seems like it's over, it's been hours and, nothing's been going on, it seems like it's clear to come out. It's recommended that you don't come out of the shelters after an attack warning is in place, because it's dangerous, because even though the missiles hit, say, several hours beforehand, there's still the chance of bombers, like waves of bombers, making their way. So what's recommended is you should stay sheltered for 2 to 3 days, and that's after an attack warning has been put in place. Stay sheltered for 2 to 3 days, regardless of zero fallout or zero nearby explosions, right? So there's an attack, but it's not anywhere near you, right? Well, you should still play it safe, stay inside, unless you absolutely, they say some exceptions might be to make improvements to your shelter or whatever. You got to get more food and water or whatever. You just want to go out and check out the situation. So what they say here is that the fallout from an attack would take only 12 hours to cover most of the country. If you don't need to leave shelter because you have food and water, you may not have the communications. So they say by having your own radiation detectors, your own Geiger counters or meters or whatever, you can assess your own situation. That's another thing, like, how are those going to be impacted by an EMP if there is one? You're going to put some radios away, maybe put a Geiger counter or something away too, in like a Faraday bag or something, or a Faraday cage. It depends on, what you want to do with it. Me personally, that I mean, if we were that much closer to midnight on a doomsday clock, I would consider doing something like that. But right now, since we're still 2 minutes away, you know, there are other more important things that I want to work on, like improving my shelter and making sure there's enough stock down there, and really thinking it through. What's the plan going to be as it gets closer? So would want to keep that in mind, protecting your communications equipment. So that's it for these two topics. There's one left. It's about keeping radios operating. I'm gonna do that one. I'll probably post it tonight, and then I'm gonna move on to the next section on Monday. Let's see, what's that one gonna be? I still got you here. Where is it? Yeah. Okay. So the next one's going to be about evacuation. All right, but before I go into evacuation, I'll put up the last one about the radios tonight. All right. Have a good one.